for the Western District of Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak on him for just a moment. And I do want to remind my colleagues on the other side of the dais that they tossed away the advice and consent responsibility, and not once, not twice, but 3 times, the Biden administration overrode Senator Hagerty and I, and you all sat there and never said a word.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm your independent political analyst, no spin, no tribalism, just facts, context, and thoughtful commentary. Today, I want to break down a recent Senate Judiciary Committee meeting where several judicial and prosecutorial nominees were debated. The discussion got pretty intense, with strong objections from both sides of the aisle over ideology, tradition, and qualifications. Let's dive in.
For a few minutes with respect to a nominee, Joshua Dunlap, who we will be considering today. He's a nominee to the First Circuit Court of Appeals, which includes Rhode Island. We've had a good record, particularly working with Senator Graham when he was in your chair, sir, of working effectively on First Circuit nominees. In this case, this is a nominee who is only supported by one of Maine's 2 senators. Senator King has not supported this nominee, and that puts us back in the position we've been in for some time, which relates to the Republican side of this committee's decision to blow up the blue slip for circuit court nominees. When that happened, I over and over again, as I think you'll recall, Senator Grassley, expressed my warning that this was going to be bad for the committee and bad for the Senate, and that when the shoe was on the other foot and we applied the same new rule that Republicans had created, there would be anger and frustration on the Republican side. And indeed, we have seen that anger and frustration on the Republican side when the rule that Republicans created, that the blue slip would no longer matter for circuit court appointees, was then applied against those who broke the rule in the first place. So that is one aspect of why I'll be opposing Mr. Dunlap. The other reason to oppose Mr. Dunlap is that this individual is virulently anti-choice, to the point of having supported a wrongful death cause of action for a death of an unborn child, presenting the prospect of actually criminalizing abortion procedures. I won't go on at length, but he has a considerable record that puts him as an ideologically anti-choice individual, which is fine under the First Amendment, but it raises questions about whether he'll be fair as a judge. Yeah. His views are so virulent that they likely extend towards pushing the Dobbs analysis that undid Roe versus Wade towards opposition to gay marriage. He is as hostile to gay marriage as he is to women's reproductive choice. Indeed, as a law student, an adult, he chose to intern for a group that had filed a brief in support of criminalizing homosexuality. So because of the extremism of his views against women's rights and his views regarding gay marriage, and because of the opposition of Senator King and the once again Republican choice to overrule a blue slip, I will be opposing his nomination.
We'll now turn to the nomination of Joshua Dunlap to serve as First Circuit. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Grant.
Aye.
Mr. Cornick.
Aye.
Mr. Lee.
Aye.
Mr. Cruz.
Aye.
Mr. Hawley.
Aye.
Mr. Tillis.
Aye.
Mr. Kennedy. Mrs. Blackburn. Aye. Mr. Schmidt.
Aye.
Mrs. Britt. Aye. Mrs. Moody. Aye. Mr. Durbin.
No.
Mr. Whitehouse.
No.
Ms. Klobuchar.
No by proxy.
Mr. Coons.
No by proxy.
Mr. Blumenthal.
No by proxy.
Ms. Hirono.
No by proxy.
Mr. Booker.
No by proxy.
Mr. Padilla.
No.
Mr. Welch.
No by proxy.
Mr. Schiff.
No.
Chairman Grassley.
Aye.
Which vote the ayes are 12, the nays are 10.
The nomination will be favorably reported.
Mr. Chairman.
Now we go
Mr. Chairman.
to, is it?
Mr. Chairman.
Tung or Dung?
It's Tom, but Senator Padilla wants to speak.
I want to speak as well.
Senator from California.
Thank you. If I may, just brief remarks before the vote on Mr. Tung. I want to strongly register my opposition to Mr. Tung's nomination to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and seeing that he's from California, my home state, I'd urge my colleagues to give this consideration and join me in opposition. Mr. Tung is not here because of his experience. He's here simply because of his extreme ideologies. Mr. Tung believes in an extreme conception of the Constitution that rejects equality and liberty. He wants to turn back the clock to exclude much of the American public from equal justice. A little over a month ago, at the confirmation hearing, I gave Mr. Tung an opportunity to clear the record by recanting his past history of both sexist and anti-labor comments. Instead of doing so, he chose to dodge and deflect, offering no real explanation or evolved thinking that could absolve his behavior and record. Equally troubling as his past remarks is his lack of experience. As I pointed out during his confirmation hearing, Mr. Tung has never served as a sole or lead counsel in a case that's been tried to verdict or to judgment from the bench. Yet the Trump administration now hopes to catapult Mr. Tung to an appellate court position, not even a district court position first. Now, I'd be happy to work with the administration to find someone suitable for such a critically important position. In fact, both Senator Schiff and I have worked to do just that. We have informed the White House that Mr. Tung would be an unacceptable nominee. And we did put forward other candidates, Republican candidates, including some who had been previously nominated by President Trump for district court judgeships. We took this matter and our responsibility seriously, and we worked hard to put forward nominees who were qualified that we hoped the White House would consider. But instead, the White House chose not to respect that genuine outreach and effort at consultation with us on this particular vacancy. And so we've seen it time and again, unfortunately. President Trump's picks to staff the Department of Justice, the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's offices, and now the federal bench. And I simply cannot support this nomination, urge you to oppose it as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to briefly join my colleague Senator Padilla and express my opposition to the nomination for much the same reasons as my colleague expressed. I would add that in our discussion during the confirmation hearing of his views of the Dobbs decision and the potential impacts on a whole range of other due process issues that are likely to face the courts, I found his views well outside the mainstream and to be very extreme, and it's not something that I could support. And for that reason, among others, I would urge a no vote on this nomination. Neither Senator Padilla nor I willing to return blue slips on this nominee. And I join my colleagues who have expressed concerns about the practice in the committee now of going forward with nominees when both home state senators object to the nomination of a court of appeals judge.
Senator
With that,
Durbin.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Senator.
12, the nays are 10.
The nomination will be favorably reported. Now we take up David Donovan
Mr.
to be
Chairman.
U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak on him for just a moment. And I do want to remind my colleagues on the other side of the dais that they tossed away the advice and consent responsibility, and not once, not twice, but 3 times, the Biden administration overrode Senator Haggerty and I, and you all sat there and never said a word. Senator Tillis had the same situation. On Mr. Donovan's nomination, he is an experienced prosecutor. He knows the job. He has previously served in this position, and he was confirmed unanimously by the Senate in 2017. Under his leadership, violent crime decreased in Memphis 13%. And during his tenure, he increased the number of federal firearms cases filed in the district by 58%. He led the Project Safe Neighborhoods Task Force in Memphis. And we all know the FBI and DOJ have worked with us to address the crime issues in Memphis. I urge a yes vote on his nomination.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Cornyn?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr.
First up was Joshua Dunlap, nominated to serve on the First Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, this is a particularly important appellate court because it covers several New England states, including Rhode Island and Maine. One of the key issues raised here was the so-called blue slip tradition. For decades, the Senate had an informal rule where home state senators could effectively block a nominee if they didn't return their blue slip of approval. But Republicans scrapped this for circuit court nominees a few years ago, and Democrats warned at the time that it would eventually backfire. And here we are, Dunlap only has the support of one of Maine's 2 senators, and Democrats pointed to that as proof of why the blue slip mattered. Now, beyond the procedural debate, the bigger controversy was about Dunlap's ideological views. Critics say he has a long record of being strongly anti-abortion to the point of supporting wrongful death lawsuits for unborn children, something that could open the door to criminalizing abortion procedures. He's also been criticized for his hostility toward gay marriage, with opponents pointing to his choice as a law student to intern for a group that actually supported criminalizing homosexuality. Supporters, on the other hand, argue that personal views should not disqualify someone from serving if they can uphold the law fairly. In the end, despite strong Democratic opposition, the committee voted to favorably report his nomination. The second big fight was over Mr. Tung, nominated to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers much of the western United States. Here, both of his home state senators Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff from California came out strongly against him. That's usually a big red flag, because historically, nominees without home state senator support don't move forward. But under the current rules, the majority can still advance the nomination. Padilla and Schiff criticized Tung on 2 fronts: his lack of courtroom experience — he's never actually served as lead counsel in a trial — and his ideological record, which they described as extreme. They cited past sexist and anti-labor comments, as well as views on constitutional interpretation that they felt rejected equality and liberty. Schiff specifically tied his views to the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade, suggesting Tung's reasoning could threaten other rights tied to due process. Despite those concerns, the committee also voted to move his nomination forward. Finally, there was a much less contentious discussion around David Donovan, nominated to serve again as U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee. Donovan had previously held this role and was confirmed unanimously back in 2017. Supporters highlighted his track record. Violent crime in Memphis fell 13% during his tenure, and prosecutions for firearms offenses went up by nearly 60%. He also led the Project Safe Neighborhoods Task Force, which worked with the FBI and DOJ to tackle gang and gun violence. Given that experience, his nomination seems to have broader bipartisan support, though some Republicans noted that Democrats haven't always respected home state objections under the Biden administration either. So what do we make of all this? Well, there are a few big takeaways. First, the erosion of the blue slip tradition is now cutting both ways. What was once seen as protection for minority party senators has effectively been eliminated, and that means whichever party controls a committee has much more power to push through nominees, even over local opposition. That sets a precedent we'll keep seeing, regardless of who's in charge. Second, the ideological battles over issues like abortion, same-sex marriage, and constitutional interpretation aren't going anywhere. Nominees are increasingly judged not just on their legal qualifications, but on their broader worldview, and that reflects how politicized the judiciary has become. And finally, When you compare the contentious debates over Dunlap and Tung with the relatively smooth discussion around Donovan, it highlights something important. Experience and a proven record results still carry weight. Donovan was measured on outcomes, like crime reduction and case management, while the appellate nominees were measured far more on ideology. In the end, these hearings remind us that judicial nominations are no longer just about filling vacancies, they're about shaping the direction of American law for decades to come. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think personal ideology should be a disqualifier for judicial nominees, or should only professional qualifications matter?